in to this live broadcast this evening. Welcome to Spotlight on East Orange Business. Spotlight on East Orange Business is your local business and community affairs program dedicated to highlighting the work of entrepreneurs, business owners, and businesses that serve the residents in the East Orange, New Jersey community. I'm Anna Banks, your host, and today's program is sponsored by Thrive Leadership Institute in collaboration with the East Orange Business Association. And it will air every Tuesday evening at 6:30 p.m. on Facebook, YouTube, and now LinkedIn. So tonight's show is about home ownership. Now, is home ownership an American dream or is it American nightmare? Owning a home has been long considered the ultimate aspiration, but social and economic realities that we've experienced over the past 15 to 18 months means that the stories about the path to home ownership are not as simple as they once were. So today in our studio, we will be having a conversation with Steve Cooper of the American Financial Network, and he is a native of East Orange, New Jersey. But before we get into our interview, let me tell you a little bit about Steve. Steve Cooper is a native of East Orange, and he is now a senior loan officer at American Financial Network. He is responsible for originating mortgages in New Jersey. He has been in the mortgage industry since 1990. Wow, we now have a 30-year veteran in our midst.
Yes.
So during his career, he has progressed from loan officer to sales manager, and also a branch manager in the various mortgage banking firms that he has been affiliated with. These experiences have allowed Stephen to serve as a valuable resource to his clients as well as to real estate and financial professionals. He specializes in home purchases and refinances for those seeking better terms with their existing home mortgages. Now, on a personal note, Steve serves on various business, educational, and community-based, as well as faith-based boards of directors. He loves to mentor inner city youth and young adults, and is an avid skier. Steve received a BS in Commerce from Rider University and attended Fairleigh Dickinson University, where he studied their Master's in Business Administration program. He has one daughter, Chelsea, who is also following her father's footprint in that she is a financial wealth advisor in New York City. So without further ado, welcome to Spotlight on East Orange Business, Steve.
Thank you, Anna. That was a great presentation. Thank you. Great introduction. Great introduction.
Well, look, we do our best.
I know you do, always. I learn from you.
Okay, so Steve, let's get right into, some of the questions that people might have. But and that is, first of all, what prompted you to choose the mortgage business when you started back in 1990? And a second part of that, when we talked about this earlier, you mentioned that it wasn't just a position, it wasn't just an industry for you, but it's actually a mission. So why do you call it a mission? So why start and why a mission?
Well, Anna, thanks for that question. So one of the first things that I pride myself on, I used to work for a major bank in New York and New Jersey. And one of the things that I noticed was that what we're not getting fed relative is how we manage our investments. And I guess the first and the primary investment that we have, especially in our community, is real estate. So I was presented with an opportunity to get into the mortgage banking side of banking, and where I just worked under the tutelage of several great and exceptional loan officers, banking executives, and it just pretty much gave me the great foundation in order to excel in this industry. So I think back in the late 80s, early 90s, I worked for several great guys and ladies, and they just took me under their tutelage and allowed me to grow under them and learn how to do the business the correct way. And the second question I think is talking about the mission. So
Yeah.
the mission, yeah, in those 30 years, I've noticed that a lot of times our people suffer from a lack of knowledge, and a lot of times it doesn't mean that that knowledge is not available. It's just not presented to us in a proper manner. So what I found in my mission is to educate our community in particular, but not exclusively, towards the benefits of wealth creation and how to develop an investment portfolio. And that vehicle that I use right now is real estate.
Great, great. What a powerful mission. Because that is, that the word does says people perish for lack of knowledge. And so I'm so glad that you have found it as you have accepted as part of your own mission to educate people like in East Orange and elsewhere about the value of wealth creation. So
Yes,
thank you for that.
you're welcome.
Mhm. So, 30 years is a long time to be in any industry.
Right, right.
And in the mortgage industry, with all of its fluctuating interest rates, ups and downturns and whatnot, what has been the major roadblock or challenge that you have had in staying in this industry for 30 years?
Well, I think there was an instance I don't know if you recall, in 2008, where the market just went upside down. It was crazy. There was a lot of people in the business. People were coming out from various capacities and then subsequently just coming into the mortgage business. So this led to uh, the banking laws changing substantially, whereas they kind of like streamlined. So now mortgage professionals are required to take a test. They're subject to a background exam, which is extensive, similar to a bar exam almost. And what we tried to do is we tried to pretty much get rid of those people who weren't in a professional capacity working in the banking industry. So that was probably one of my greatest challenges, because as a result of 2008, with the market, there were literally banks just literally going under. So those professionals that were no longer in the business, or as a result of that, was probably due to they weren't really committed to the process and full understanding. They didn't have the background or the capacity, and in some cases, what they were doing was illegal. So it kind of led to stringent laws, which are necessary, but now it's made, mortgage banking one of the most highly regarded and highly regulated professions in America.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So, knowing that and knowing that there have been these challenges, what kept you going when things got tough? Because you mentioned 2008, and you're right. Everything turned upside down during that
Right.
time.
Yeah.
So what kept you going?
And I always pride myself on being a servant leader. So, when you put it, I've had this um, understanding a long time ago that it's really not about me. So when you serving others, is in real estate has allowed me to serve so many great and fantastic friends, family, relatives, and other professionals. So I've always lingered. I was challenged by myself as a result of 2008, but I've always stuck to my foundation as far as high morals and justice for our community. So pretty much I just stayed in the business because literally I love it. It's no other thing than putting a family in their first investment, which is real estate. I'm saying you should see the thank yous I get, the accolades, and I've just pushed people in order to maintain, because they get disgruntled, they get discouraged. And, my objective is just to keep them focused on the end goal, which is to get them to their dream home.
Oh, that's great. That's great. And, right now, I know that, as I read the news, the financials and whatnot, Mortgage rates are still significantly low, but also the housing inventory is also significantly low.
Right, right.
So in this near pandemic, because I can't say post-pandemic because we're not completely out of it yet, what is the primary focus right now of your business, at least for the balance of 2021?
I think right now is even more education now than it was before, because of the fact that, like, I just had a client, matter of fact, yesterday, they won a bid on the property, but they bid it 100,000 more than the list price. They prided me and told me that they won the bid, but I said, at what cost?
Mhm.
It gets to a point where it becomes like because real estate is a very emotional purchase. Once a person walks into the house, they kind of envision themselves living in that property. So they kind of maintain a conflict. They want to be loyal to the property before the property is even loyal to them. And there's Robert Kiyosaki mentioned something that I'll always present to my customers. He said, real estate is really not an asset if it's a single family property. So if you're buying a multi-family property where you can get some cash flow, then it becomes an asset. But it's not really an asset if you're just putting money in, putting money in. And if you're paying a premium, you got to look at real estate like it's an investment. And if you're looking at it shrewdly as an investment, you always look for your exit strategy. And if you're paying a premium for a property, then you're not buying it shrewdly. So that's one of the things that I educate my clients on, and I try to kind of hold them accountable for that. And if they do decide to proceed, I give them fair warning, like based on the benefits and the cost of that decision.
Mm-hmm. So that's going to be your focus, is again going back to the education piece, making
Yes.
sure that people are financially sound and that they really understand that yes, they can win the bid, as you just said, but
Yes.
I love that, but at what cost?
Right.
Sometimes people just don't really look at the overall cost. They look at whether or not they can afford the payment,
Yes.
the taxes and all of that stuff that goes with it. And if they think that that's fine, then they will go with it. And I also like the idea that a single family home is not an investment. So if it's not an investment, what is it?
No, basically, you just have to, it's just a place that you want to, just raise a nice family, put yourself in a nice community with a great school district, but you can't look at it as an investment because, I bought a home in Somerset County, say, I sold it in 2009, and that property is selling for the same price that I sold it for in 2009. So that appreciation may not always be there. So me as as an investment person and talking about wealth creation in our community, I have to make clients aware of there's certain communities that you can't anticipate appreciation because you may not experience the appreciation that you think you're going to have unless the school district change, the government changes, or some other thing that's outside of your control. But you living in this community may not be your best interest. So that's why people kind of like select certain neighborhoods and school districts. That's why school districts become such a priority because money follows school districts and jobs.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty impactful then,
Yeah.
So I know that a lot of your business, not all of you, not exclusively, but a lot of your business is in the East Orange area.
Yes.
And I want to just thank you for that and for helping to keep people honest and to educate them, even as you are helping them to qualify and obtain mortgages for their homes. But why did you decide to concentrate in East Orange?
I think for East Orange I'm so proud to be from East Orange, and it's a great community of great people and a community that's given so much to me, from my childhood, from, junior high school all the way forward, and even coming back today, some of my best friends are still from East Orange and still reside in East Orange. So when something's given to you, you pretty much want to give back. So, what they say, as you learn and teach, as you grow, then you expand, your awareness and your 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 ability to give back to that community. So that's one of the things I pride myself on because so many people from East Orange that even though they left and came back either through sports, working in the school district, or even like us coming back to and offering our businesses, it allows us to pretty much fulfill our obligation to come back and educate the people that we've been so blessed to be working.
Well, that's great. So, Steve, could you just share with our audience an example of maybe a family that you've helped? Make
Okay.
sure that don't share any names to protect.
No, I ain't gonna share no names. No, there was one couple I'm very proud of that there was a property that they bought in East Orange, and what we did was it was kind of maxed out at the time and probably in the 300,000 kind of valuation, and what we noticed that the property was exceptionally big. So one of the things that we did was we repositioned that asset, meaning that we changed it from a one family big house to a side by side 2-family home. So that took the value. So they bought the house for 300,000. They put in approximately 150,000 worth of work. So now the house is worth, say, 400, 450. But now the house appraises for like 550. So I try to educate my people, and they followed my lead and allowed me to pretty much tell them on how to get the property to appreciate in value, what things they need to do. And now they're sitting on $100,000 worth of equity, where now other people are paying more than what the house is worth. So that's one of my best examples of a family that I helped in East Orange, and I'm still in contact with that family today, even though that happened maybe like 3 or 4 years ago.
Well, see, that's wonderful. I hope they're referring you.
Yes, they are.
Because that's one thing about, being in the professional services, we can advertise, we can do those kind of things, but by far the best client that we get is the one that comes through referrals.
Yes.
So one of the things that, as you know, I'm an executive coach and a trainer. And as a result of that, because of that, I'm always curious about how business owners, especially in East Orange, see their commitment to providing opportunities for urban youth. So how does your business, or how do you provide that positive example for youth that you encounter here in East Orange, especially because you're from East Orange?
Right. I think recently I've had the opportunity to speak to young adults through my fraternity, Omega Psi Phi fraternity, and at the mansion on Harrison Street. And we were doing a youth mentoring program where we brought in young men, various ages from age, say, 8 to 18 years old. And we just educated them on business. And my proudest moment is the fact that at 1 week during that time, my daughter was the keynote speaker. So I love that. And she talked nothing about but strictly investments and investment opportunities. And because she's such a young, a young person, they kind of gravitated towards her, and it made it seem like if she can do it, then I can do it. So not only do I try to bring back, my own gifts, but I try to accentuate other people's gifts and bring them back so we can create a synergy in our community. Because there's nothing better than having just to read up on any kind of magazine and find that somebody that I met from East Orange or that lives in East Orange is now excelling in business. So I kind of pride myself on that. But any opportunity I get to speak to youth in East Orange or the surrounding community, I truly take advantage of it, and I take it very serious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, give us, I know that you are involved, and I even stated earlier that you're involved in a number of community and faith-based organizations. Could you share with our listening audience some of them and the significant impact that it has had on the community or the people that you serve?
Well, basically, one of the things, I'm a proud member, like I said earlier, of my fraternity. I'm in other various business organizations. I'm a ministry leader at my church. So anytime I get a chance, I've created a scholarship an endowed scholarship at my university, Rider University in Lawrence. So anytime I get a chance, I created a company called Paradigm Shift Global, which teaches financial literacy to not just young adults, young persons, but also adults. So those kind of things I kind of pride myself because I want to be an emphasis because, like I said earlier, as you learn, then you're supposed to give back and teach others so that you can bring them up. And like I think one of the things that you told me a long time ago was a rising tide lifts all boats.
All boats.
So, if I can rise, then it's my responsibility to educate and bring others with me.
Thank you so much. Thank you, first of all, for remembering that I taught you that.
Yes.
And then secondly, for your continual involvement, in the community in which you were born.
Yeah.
As you mentioned earlier, there are so many people that, especially that are from urban centers, they excel, they do well, and then they leave.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that you have to live here, but at least give back because you can, and because that sets a powerful example for our youth, as to what's possible for them. If we don't have those role models around us, then what do our children do?
Exactly. I agree.
They're watching television. They're watching shoot 'em ups. That's what I call
Yeah, definitely. All that crazy. Right. You're right.
They're watching that,
Yes.
and whereas it's powerful to be able to say, oh yeah, I know Steve Cooper. I know, Mark Cheatham. I know some of these other people, I know the Thomas family, that was on last week, and look what they're doing. If they can do it, I can do it.
Yes, that's important.
Yes, it is.
Critical.
So, this comes to, the end of this part of the program. And I'd like to always use, something that just a little bit fun, and it also gives people another view of who you are. And so it's called Would You Rather. So you ready to play Would You Rather?
Yes, thank you.
Great.
I'm sure it'll be a challenge.
Well, it'll be fun.
Okay, great. That's even better.
Okay. So, Steve, would you rather have a personal maid or a personal chef?
I would rather have, I think I need a personal maid, but I would prefer to have a personal chef.
Okay, that's fair.
That's fair, right?
That's fair. Okay. So would you rather have unlimited battery life in all of your devices, or would you rather have free Wi-Fi wherever you go?
Free Wi-Fi. That gives me access to information.
Okay. So the next one is, would you rather have $1 million now or $5,000 a week for the rest of your life?
I think I would take how much is a million now?
It's either 1 million now or $5,000 a week for the rest of your life.
I think I would take the 1 million now and grow it and invest it and put in investments.
Okay. Now, would you rather solve world hunger or global warming?
Well, I can only speak on the immediate, and I see so many hungry people, especially when I go to various locations, especially in the inner city. So if I can solve world hunger, I think that'll be a footprint that I'll be proud of. I think that's more important than flying to space and trying to discover the moon. But that's nothing against Jeff Bezos, but I just think world hunger is something critically, and I see that if I'm at a train station, local people just coming by handling it. People don't want to, and that's one of the greatest things about inner cities and the crime component, because people out here are hungry and they need money. So if they don't have money, there's kind of like a challenge for them, and then they just seek alternative motives to accumulate the same.
Yes. Yeah, I used to, when I was working in Washington on several occasions, one of the things that just wrenched my heart was driving down, I forget what the street is right now, but I was riding past the U.S. Treasury.
Okay.
And on the grate in front of the U.S. Treasury were homeless people, cut up boxes pulled over them for shelter and for comfort.
That's crazy. In front of the richest building in the country.
The U.S. Treasury.
Yes, richest building in the country.
Yeah. So it's so I totally get it.
Yeah.
And so our last question is, Would you rather travel for free for a year or have $50,000 to spend right now, however you please?
I think I'd rather travel for a year. That way I can experience different locations, different people. And then, as the more people you meet, you grow. So I can get different opinions, just see how other people are living. And then I can just bring those ideas back to East Orange and we can encourage others.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for playing Would You Rather with
Would
us.
you rather? I gotta write that down. I love that game. That's a deep game. That's a deep game. That's an Anna game. You should patent it, Anna.
Oh, I can't. It's people have been using Would You Rather in schools
Oh,
forever.
for real? Oh, okay.
Absolutely. But that's that teacher in me.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So, we're just about, wrapping up. I know the time just flew by, didn't it?
Yes, I'm having such a great time. Anytime I'm in your midst, and I just get tickled pink just to be, just regardless, just us working together with this association is kind of, brings out the best in me.
Well, I enjoy working with you too, Steve. And again, I appreciate your commitment to East Orange and to urban centers and to people who really want to learn and to grow, especially in the
Yeah,
financial arena. So and that's huge. It's
right.
huge right now. Especially after a while we are going through this pandemic. I hope that we're on the other side of that. But still, in all, there's a lot of casualties as a
Yes,
result of
I
that.
know.
Lots and
One of
lots
the
of
things that and one of the things that I know like 3 years ago they said 75% of Americans live from paycheck to paycheck. So that's one of the challenge. That's one of the things that I'm on a mission to solve.
Mhm.
How people can get disciplined with their finances.
Okay. Which then, just kind of moves me to like one of our final questions for you, Steve, is so what advice, could you give someone either wanting to purchase a home or to get their finances on track?
I think one first and foremost is discipline. I always pride myself on discipline. Discipline allows you to not go over what you think that you can do or which is required as it relates to how much money you can save because you're disciplined with saving, how to expend credit because you're not trying to maximize your credit cards, and also just the type of property that you need to live in. Sometimes people buy these big houses, and I was guilty of it myself, so I'm preaching to the choir. So, you have these big houses, but then you can't manage them because they're so big. There's ancillary costs associated with not just
Mhm.
the upkeep of the property, but then you have to maintain it because you got to keep it up to the same excellence as your neighbors. I think I forgot the name of the clause, but when you buy a new house, you got to bring on all this. You got to get the furniture, you got to get all this stuff. So those one of the things. So that's why I'd rather people have a least expensive home, but then have the amenities and still have some type of savings available. So that's one of the big advice of when I encourage people. So even though the banking law said that we can use certain DTI um, information relative to how much you can spend per month, I try to keep my clients below that.
Mhm.
And secondly, if there's a first-time home buyer, I always encourage them to buy a multifamily. So that way they're relying on tenants. And so that's the true thing with as far as being if you can buy a four family, especially if you're single and you're young. Like I had a young man come over from New York with a four family. The tenants paid for his whole mortgage. He lived for free, took the difference that he had been paying in the mortgage, and he started investing it and putting it in the stock market. So those are the type of things that we try to encourage our youth and other people on how to think about real estate in a positive way so that they don't turn the American dream into America's nightmare, to their nightmare.
Okay. Okay. Well, I appreciate, all that you've shared with us today. So, Steve, the thing that before we leave, I just want to know how can we learn more about what you're doing, about the educational opportunities that you are affording people, and and even if they're looking for a refi, even with these low mortgage rates, how
Okay.
can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, my cell phone number is 732-500-7368. And I usually pick up, the first time. So if I don't pick up, that means I'm on the line with another customer. but that's my cell phone number. You can call me there anytime. And my email is scooper@afncorp.com for American Financial Network Corp.com. So you can always send me an email, or you can send me a text, or or just call me directly, and then I'll respond to you. If I don't pick up, then just be patient, and I'll call you right back.
Okay.
So
And do you have a website, Steve?
yes, my website is www.afncorp.com/Stephen Cooper.
Okay. All right. So
Okay.
I put that website up on the screen so that our listening audience can, get in touch with you by either the telephone, by email, or by going to your website. So I just I appreciate so much you're spending the time with us here on Spotlight on East Orange Business. Do you have any final comments before we close out?
No, and first and foremost, I want to thank you for allowing me this opportunity to come and speak on this beautiful program. I think this program is definitely necessary. Spotlight on East Orange businesses. East Orange business has been, a staple for years, even when I was younger. And now is the time for us to rekindle that same spirit and come back as a community and challenge the jobs, the opportunities for our youth, and as far as our young adults, and be role models so that people don't just think that sports and art, even though they are great occupations, but business pays those people. So if you run a business, it's an honorable profession. So again, I want to thank you, and thank you for this opportunity to come and share what I do, and what East Orange Business Association is doing, and what we're about to do, because we're about to conquer the world with this business association. So thank you again.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you again, Steve. So thank you all for joining us for another edition of Spotlight on East Orange Business. Remember that Spotlight on East Orange Business is your weekly business and community affairs program. I am Anna Banks, your host, and the program is sponsored by Thrive Leadership Institute in collaboration with the East Orange Business Association. We air every Tuesday evening at 6:30 p.m. on Facebook, YouTube, and now LinkedIn. So if your business would like to be a guest on Spotlight on East Orange Business, please contact me by sending me an email. And that is an error here. Wait a minute, let me just fix that. It's hello. So it's hello@thriveleadershipinstitute.com. The M is down at the bottom there. Thriveleadershipinstitute.com. And just put in the subject, Spotlight on East Orange Business Guest. And we will, I'll have someone from my team reach out to you and see when we can schedule you. So again, it's been a pleasure being your host this evening. And in fact, next week, my colleague today will be hosting our show next week. So I just appreciate him now and in advance for doing so. Yes. So until then, have a great evening, a great week, and bye-bye for now.